If I step back and think about what a quota is supposed to be, it's supposed to be a target that's a little bit of a stretch. And it is meant to be a stretch. It's not easy to get there. We expect you to grow or do a little bit more to get there, but it needs to be tied to behaviors that are in the control of the rep. A really good quota is actually tying to the workload assumptions that we have at an opportunity or an account level within a territory and leveraging all the data that we understand on what it takes to bring a sale from start to finish, or the odds of us closing in that segment, that industry, that type of profile of customer, and then using all that data to produce what should be a very achievable but slightly stretch goal. And I think the biggest gap that you see is if you're not using all the data that you have, then it's very difficult to get that forecast accurate, right? That quarterly check-in, like if you're not able to forecast at a quarterly level what your comp spend and what your attainment distribution is going to look like, how are you ever going to get to a very robust quota setting process on an annual basis? And so that's kind of one of the first places, like just get the forecasting more and more accurate, use more and more data, and refine the process to and test it on a quarterly basis. You have 4 tests a year now before you have to go into full like annual quota setting. If you go too data driven, you go too, it's right for the use of AI, as we were talking about earlier, right? For quota setting, you can use all this data. It's a perfect training model. You forecast next week's sales, and then you train the model on where your forecast came in, right? Or your actual sales came in. The one downside is, of course, that becomes very complex and very black boxy. So how do you explain that to the sales organization? That's not super technical, not necessarily. And then at the other side, if you don't use all the data, it's very hard to be truly predictive and actually make it an equitable forecast. So